Let's talk about the pocket. Now, the pocket in below is the area in the game that you can come to store things. So I often refer to it as a stash. And you get here when you go to a campfire and you light up the campfire. You can either cook there, you can set a waypoint, you can travel to an existing waypoint, or the bottom option is this sleeping option you can see at the bottom. Now, through falling asleep, you will then travel to this area, and that is also how you leave the area through going back to sleep again. So, what you can do here, you can use the campfire that's in here, which is pretty good. So, you can use it to cook as you'd normally do. But more importantly, it allows you to store items that will persist between deaths. So if you die in the game, normally you need to go and retrieve your corpse, and you will then be able to collect all the items that you had on your corpse. However, of course, if you don't make it back to your original corpse, you will then lose the items that were on the corpse you had. Now, what you're able to do here then is just store items in a safe way where you know no matter what happens, you've got a backup plan. You've got some items that you can fall back on to help you make up for the progress that you've lost. So let's have a look what we've got in here. So first off, quite usefully, we've got a little supply of water, which will allow us to get cooking. We then have some cooking supplies down here. You're able to, so what you see on the left is what you have on your person, and on the right is what you're actually storing. Now, what you might notice is that my area has more storage slots than you might have in your game at the moment. As you progress through the game, you will find items that allow you to expand this pocket storage, and so that will be why. Now, in terms of storing things, you can store the bottles, you can store any mushrooms you find, you can store any meat that you find. What is actually useful, I find, is the meat in particular, because when you die and you retrieve your corpse, any meat that you had on your person seems to be lost at that moment. So if you store it here, it means that you'll always, it's the only way you can really keep hold of meat if you were to die and to start again. Okay, so there are your cooking supplies. If you go over to the left, we have a little chest. In here is where you can store different weapons in the game. Now, I don't have any plan in this video to talk about the different weapons that you may find in the game, but this is where you can store them. There's a slight graphical glitch I'm having on the top right where it shows some helmets over it. That's just a glitch at the moment. I would disregard that. But you can take things out and store things just as you do with the food supplies. If you were to move up a little bit more, you've then got a closet, and this is where you can store armor and helmets, or helms or skulls that you find in the game. In the same manner, you're able to just double click on them or use the hotkey in the interface in order to store them or to take them out. Now, at the top, we then got this mysterious little thing that we can interact with. It's got the little question mark icon, which means you can interact with it, but you need something to do it, or there's something that you must provide in order to get the interaction out of it. Now, I'm going to talk about this briefly now, so if you don't want to know how it works, then maybe it's best for you to mute the video until you see me walk over to the next bit. But you need to place into this slot marbles that you find in the game. So these are scattered throughout the world. They're spheres, and they'll be stored in an extra tab in your inventory. So if I press Q now, at the moment, there's only 5 tabs, but once you find room keys and you find marbles, there'll be an extra tab between these two. Now, once you have a marble, you bring it here, you interact with this, and it will highlight one of the few areas that it will improve. And essentially, it just gives you more storage slots. It's random, you don't get to choose. It's the different marbles seem to improve different areas, but it also gives you a nice cosmetic upgrade. You'll notice that I've got this cozy little armchair here, and all of those came from those collectibles as well. Okay, so moving on, then we have the outhouse area, or a little shed. Here you store general items. I find it quite useful to store some of the common items that you always want to use, such as these ingredients to create bandages. So you have the moss and the kind of slime stone. They're often found in different areas of the game, and you won't, especially as you get deeper down into the dungeon, you'll get to a point where you won't find these blood mosses anymore. And so it can be useful to store them so that when you want to make bandages later in the game, you do have a supply of them without having to run all the way back to the start of the game. Okay, and then the final thing we have is an extra mysterious icon, which is a place where you can store the white crystals that you find in the game. So you can just store individual crystals, or you can press the hotkey to store all of them in one go. I have come across a little glitch in this where I was holding down E to to store multiple, and it kind of got stuck constantly trying to put them in. And what that meant as a result of that is I wasn't able to take them out as well, because as I took them out, it would put them all back in. In order to get around this, I just left the campsite and then came back, and then it worked fine for me, just in case you come across that issue. But yeah, so that is the pocket, the stash area. One of the best things about this area for me is that when you're doing things here, your survival kind of statistics are not being affected, right? So you're not getting more hungry. So it's a nice, relaxed environment for you to manage things without thinking, oh no, every moment I spend thinking and planning what I want to take with me is affecting my hunger gauge, and I'm going to need to eat again just for taking time to think. So it's nice for that reason. And there's no time restrictions, especially if you want to just take a quick little break. It's a nice place for you to kind of set up camp. So yeah, hopefully you understand the purpose of the pocket now. Thanks for watching.